Bam. Welcome to another episode of The Awakening Self. My name is Aaron Fisher, and today I bring you another guest. Her name is Marisa. Before I bring her on, let me read a little bit about Marisa to you. So Marisa is a 300-hour hatha yoga and meditation teacher, intuitive energy healer, life coach, speaker, and founder of the Mindful Vine, which guides people on a journey of the senses to discover deeper connection to themselves. Marisa is also a professional sommelier, regarded in the fine dining world for over a decade. She has traveled the world studying winemaking and biodynamics from the largest organic producer in California and believes in connecting to nature as a powerful portal to presence. Marisa weaves her expertise of wine with her deeply rooted passion for reconnecting people more deeply to their innate joy through immersive experience. She is a dynamic, fun, and powerful teacher who will lead you to expand your awareness and deepen your connection to all parts of yourself, finding more pleasure and presence in every moment. So, without further ado, bring Marisa. Mm-mm. Yeah.
Yo,
I
this
love,
is
I
this
love,
is also tea, not wine, just FYI. It's the
just so
morning.
you know. Yeah, no, I'm just like, I'm reading, I always love reading people's, there's one, like, reading your profile, it's like, a powerful portal to presence. I'm like, I hope, that's a tongue twister in itself.
Need to work on the copy.
I was reading and I'm like, so if the thing is, growing up because I had like dyslexia. Like sometimes my brain, there's a word, but I can see it, but my brain can't understand how to pronounce it no matter how I do it. So that's why I'm like, before we went on, I'm like, so you're a professional, so what is that word?
Sommelier.
Somali. I
It's a
still,
French it's a French word. People have a hard time with it sometimes. It's all good. It's
it's a good
basically
word.
it's a wine. If you directly translate it, it's a wine steward, but there's these fancy tests and things to go through to get this certification, but mostly it's an expert in wine.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Well, thank you very much. It was a great bio. So that's just one aspect on paper. Let us hear about you. Tell us about your story, like from the start to where you are today.
Oh, wow. Okay. Beautiful. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This is so fun to be able to have conversation with people like you and you because you're just so contagious. So thank
Oh,
you for
thank
having
you.
me. All right, where do I want to start? The powerful portal to presence. That portal sucked me in. My mindfulness practice, we can start there, is
Okay.
actually because I was suffering from pretty bad anxiety.
Hmm.
And I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with, and we don't talk about it a lot. I love talking about it because it has been the most challenging and most amazing gift that I've received. And that figuring out, navigating how to get out of anxiousness and that feeling that's just so overwhelming can be, without turning to a bunch of drugs. And like, of course, there are these things that can be really helpful, but I really wanted to figure out how to navigate that
Hmm.
naturally and understand my brain and system and the universe and all the things. So that mission started probably like, I mean, I've been practicing yoga and meditation for 15 years, but it was much more of a body experience, and the
Hmm.
mindfulness spiritual connection started around like 4 years ago, I would say specifically. And so I left the wine business and I was in this fancy career and I'm doing really well. And I had this deep, and that was part of in some of the soul searching experience of the anxiety was coming from, I was not aligned with my true path and purpose. And I knew it, but I didn't like know it. And it
Hmm.
was I got the guts to quit, and I went to an ashram, actually on the island of Hawaii, and I knew that I wanted to try to go this yoga teacher route and learn how to meditate for myself and then teach others. And that has led me to reincorporating wine, which is interesting. Right after that month-long really process of waking up at 4 a.m. and studying all day and like completely shifting my life like very quickly, I had a wine trip that was pre-planned to go to Bordeaux, France, and
Mm.
went. And it was this moment of like, okay, Marisa, you're either going to go back to, it's like I've been a little past the rabbit hole and there really isn't going back, and I knew it, but I didn't know really where I was going at the same token. I'm sure we've all experienced some version of this. So I'm dedicated to continuing my meditation practice. I'm in wine country and I'm up at 6 a.m. At sunrise. I'm the only like crazy person in wine country who's meditating in the vineyard. I assure you, I'm like completely by myself. And I'm meditating, and I remember the sunlight is kind of rising, and I had this smell come, and it was so visceral. I will always remember it. And it took me back to a memory of being, I think I was like 6, and I was with my grandpa, and I went down this like rabbit hole of memory. And I realized in that moment was kind of the birthing of this idea that, wow, when I'm deductive tasting, so a sommelier, I have my nose in the glass, and I can supposedly, usually, tell you what this wine is, where it comes from in the world, and what's the year. In
Mm.
order to do that, I am so presently immersed in my senses that everything else kind of like zooms out. And we have these in many different things. Sometimes when we play sports, when you're running, like your ultra marathon that you just did, like insane, right? Like you're in the zone. For me, it was like, maybe this is a conversation that I can have with people. How can wine be about the earth? How can wine be about tuning in rather than tuning out? And so that's where this idea was born. And I came back, I was here in Aspen, Colorado, and I turned one of my favorite yoga studios into a wine cave. And I took people through this meditative dining experience that gets you out of your intellect of being right or wrong about wine or any of that, or like having the outward conversation, and really tunes you in so that we can practice. It's just a practice
Mm.
of tuning into our senses as this portal to presence. And so grounding into a body awareness is something I'm really passionate about. I think that using our sensual experience, whether we're on a nature hike, whether we're dining with friends, to slow down and to sip something, to smell it, to taste, to have more mindfulness in these little practical daily things that we may do. That is really that's what life is, right? It's like this string of moments. And so if we can practice that more often in a way that's like approachable and fun and outside of what we may deem a time to be mindful, then maybe it'll seep into the rest of how we live.
Mm.
So that's what I do. And I am also an intuitive energy healer. So I've really gone down my own path with working with my chakra system, and tuning into my body wisdom and being able to shift energies within my own self. And I'm now able to take that on other people through their own guided journey with that, so that we can become our own healers, so that we can find the answers within. So that's something that I offer as well. And it's this idea of the vine, that we weave all these different parts. I love that. Like I visualize the vine, of course, grapes, but the vine really is this, all these different parts of ourselves. Like you're a guy with when you're with your friends, and then you're like this when it's your mom, and you're like this when you're in your meditation, and you have all these different seemingly separate parts of ourselves. But
Mm-hmm.
when we can bring more ease, more mindfulness, more presence to all of these seemingly separate things and weave them together through this through line of intention, really, that's when we find this like peacefulness in no matter what we're doing. That's where we can really connect to the internal space that the external is then a reflection of. That was a lot of words. I'm dead now.
It's beautiful. So, what I want to hear about is the whenever there's an individual that talks about the ability to be a healer or to be in tune, then there was a part in their life where they needed to be healed and they were out of tune. This leads into the question that I'm curious to know about is, can you tell me a little more about, or can you tell me about some of your awakening moments that you've had in your life?
Absolutely. A lot of them for me are in nature.
Hmm.
So, one moment really, I mean, one of those that I just described was this meditation of just this like drop in aha moment. Um, Nature in walking, I can think of something like 2 years ago where I was walking, it was like snowing, and I just had this like, I can feel my feet, I can feel the snow on my skin. And I
Mm.
started getting these messages of downloads that I'm in the exact right place at the exact right time. And it really integrated into every cell of my body because I got rid of the distractions and I was welcoming tuning in. I wasn't trying and striving for it, but I created the space in which it could happen. And I invited in that, please, I requested, please show me. Didn't even know who exactly I was talking to, but I just created this space of please show me. And it was like a body, for me, it was a body wisdom first. It was like, oh, there's my feet. Oh, there's the snow. There's my stomach. There's my heart. There's my mind open. And that was a really potent moment, and it was simple. Um, I've worked with some plant medicine as well that has really helped me. I mean, some moments that have come from working with the vine of ayahuasca has really, I've had moments in there where there was this like, wow, I can understand the connectedness of everything, the
Mm.
idea of we are all one, and then the experience of we are all one. It's hard to articulate it into words, but I can tell you that once you experience these things for yourself, they integrate into the way that you live your life. And I've experienced that. Is that specific enough?
So
Anything else?
let's talk about some like let's talk about like one very specific awakening moment that you've had, a
Okay.
moment that, what was your life prior to that versus how did things shift after it?
Well, that's a great question. Prior was trying to find and seeking. And after, not that I don't have that now, because it propels us to go forward when we still want more, but I don't have the need as much. It doesn't feel like grasping. So, for example, um, the we'll just go with the first example that I gave, the hiking.
Hmm.
After that, I knew that because I could do it for myself, I could then hold the space for others just by my presence. I'm not even talking about clients. I just mean like people in my life that reflect back to me how much I've changed. They feel at ease in my presence because I'm present. After that really started to open up for me. And I didn't know that that was what was going on until I noticed these like changes around me and people seeing me differently, wanting to ask questions. And I could tell that their energy was able to drop down and just be with me.
Hmm. You use the word change, what is it that you were before and what
Mm.
is it that you are then now? Because I find it very interesting because even when I meet people, they're like, "You're not who you used to be." I'm like, "Oh, thank you. That's a compliment." Like,
Totally.
like I'm happy I changed. Like that's the one thing I should be doing. Like, thank
Right.
you.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. So are you asking to dive a little bit more into the idea of change or?
I'm kind of curious to know because you said that people could feel your change. So that means that there must have been something predominant prior to it that they saw versus what it is today. So I'm very curious to know of what was it before and then what was it that they felt now. So being present means that, there's a lot of things about what presence really means because presence is a gift, but it takes time to understand how to open it. So
Yes.
I'm kind of curious to know what part of the present were you working on, or what part of the present didn't you see prior to all of this?
Such a beautiful question. Wow. So I've been reflected back from friends of mine, and I do pride myself on being a very good friend and
Mm.
have lovely relationships in my life, friendships, and it's been reflected back to me that I wasn't listening.
Hmm.
I was waiting for the next thing to say. And through the work that I've done around presence is really a byproduct of that, cultivating that presence within myself is not needing the approval. I think at the root of me waiting for them to finish so that I could speak
Mm.
was this underlying tone of asserting myself for approval. And that comes from some insecurity. So, that has been a huge shift, mostly when people, and I'm not perfect at it by any means,
Neither
but
am I.
like
No way.
I,
Learning.
yeah, I'm learning. It's like my ability to listen is amazing, is shifted a lot. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's the main, like where I'm at right now. People feel more held in my presence is a good word for it, of I hear you, I see you, I'm here.
Mhm.
And I think that's really the greatest gift that we can give ourselves first, and then it can translate to other people. That's what we need more of. You don't need me to be right or wrong, you just need me to listen to you and hear you and offer if you want. So that's been the biggest shift, I think, the change.
It's interesting because you do see very common in society, even when I'm sitting with certain groups of people, it's they speak not from hearing, but to better assert themselves, and it's more of they listen so they can respond with, this is what I'm doing, this is all the amazing things I'm creating. And I used to be like that. I'm like, oh, I'm listening for a short part in the conversation where I can insert how amazing I am and how much I've grown. Or like, let me show you all my knowledge and why I am so smart and know things. But it's just like sometimes it's kind of just, not even sometimes, it is about holding that space, because the conversation will organically go to where it needs to. And a lot of times it's, if you really do feel like you have achieved all these great things, then it's not about always sharing it, but allow people to really feel that and to be in the presence of that, and then understand that, like, yeah, they understand that they're in a very safe place where it's just like, oh, this person doesn't want to just speak about themselves, like they really want to listen. And my next question would be, because I'm trying not to go fully more into it, but like, why is listening such an important thing to do?
Such a beautiful question. That's, to me, that's really the genuine connection that we're all striving for. The reason why we do the things we do often, I'll speak for myself. The reason I, in the past, have done the things that I've done and accomplished the things that I've accomplished was ultimately for more connection. I just didn't see it like that. It was to be seen, to be approved, to feel like I was moving forward in my life. Well, why do I want to do that in the first place?
Hmm.
It's so that I can have something to offer, right? That was my motivation. And now I've shifted to realize that what we really want is that if that's really what we want, then listening is really what we're here to do. And there's this fine line, when you were speaking so eloquently just before this, of, you know, um, sharing what you're excited about, of like all the things you've accomplished, or what you have coming up. I do a lot of events and retreats. I have retreat coming up in August in Italy, and I want to promote these things, but I now look at it so much more as an invitation and something I'm excited to share, rather than, well, you should totally come, it's going to be awesome, like, please come because I have to make it work. You know? different energy, totally different energy. Like if
Mm-hmm.
people feel that one of the main things with this, I was having this conversation the other day with a fellow, she's a beautiful Chinese medicine practitioner, healer, amazing person. And one of the things that we were saying is that it's not about what I need from you. Sometimes when we get in this teacher mode, it's like, you can't be a teacher without students, right? So I need them. Or is it, how can I be of service? What can I offer to help guide you? Not that I have the answers. It's like this more of an invitation. And so to come full circle, listening allows for people to feel invited
Mm-hmm.
and welcomed. And that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
See.
Well, I believe in nowadays there are situations now. I'll explain a little more because I was trying to hold back. So there's situations where you sit with individuals and everybody talks, but nobody listens, and then they walk away being like, "Oh, that felt great," only to go into the conversation the next time, and be like, "Well, what are you talking about? This is I told you about this," and they're like, "No, no, you didn't. I told you about this." And they're like, "No, you didn't," because there wasn't actually active listening.
Absolutely.
There was active replying, there was active sharing, but there wasn't active listening. So sometimes we get to a point of our life where like, but they've always been my best friend, but they've actually never listened to you. You guys haven't really had that connection because you've been speaking but not communicating. You know what I mean? It's like you've been hearing but you haven't been listening. And only to get to the point where all of a sudden you realize that you have a certain need in your life that's not being fulfilled. And then when you try to communicate, they're just speaking. And when you're asking them to listen, all they're doing is hearing. And when people speak, people are the reflection of us, whether we agree with it or not. And when you actually can sit down and talk to people and ask them more questions, it helps us to better understand who we are. You know what I mean? It's like, well, this person is triggering me. Then why are you being triggered?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is it internally that's making you feel that? Okay, here is a lesson. Here is a teacher. Here's somebody to learn from. And I don't mean this in the sense that like, oh my God, somebody triggered me. They must be my teacher. Like sometimes you're just like, fuck this trigger. Like, I don't want to be here. This is ridiculous. And like, that's okay. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But to learn from these experiences and to learn from these ideas that like nobody I believe that nobody's really out there to harm us, but people are just trying to figure out better ways to love themselves, understand their value, understand their worth, because at sometimes we speak because we want other people to look at us and be like, you do have value, like you do have worth, we do see you, we do hear you, you are loved, you're not alone. You know, a lot of times we use so many words just to ask for that one thing of, am I enough?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah, beautifully put. And what I'm hearing from you is this mirroring that you've given a beautiful example of in what you just described of a reflection of ourselves. So, do you have something that recently has happened in your life that is you're having this aha moment of, oh, this is a mirroring for me, like an interaction for you? Because I know you're so mindfully aware a lot of the time.
Everything's a mirror. Like that's the thing. And like I see the thing is if we're gonna ask me a question about this, any kind of mirror, it's when I speak to my dad, when I speak to my brother, when I speak to, let me stay focused and I'll just keep it in one way. When I speak to my family, because when I speak to my dad, when I speak to my mom, when I speak to my brothers, I see the different parts of me in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, I can be like, oh, I got this from my father. I got this from my mother. And then it helps me to better understand the individual I am and be able to take parts of them away from me and actually grow into more of the things that I want to be.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Hmm.
I just was like imagining you picturing that conversation with your family right there. I
Because
was seeing
the
that.
way that we respond is from when we're a youth, from we're surrounded by either your mother, your father, adopted, the people that adopt you, your grandparents, the social worker, whatever it is, we mimic the surroundings around us and we absorb that
Right.
because we feel like that is what society needs and that will keep us safe. So I'm going to absorb all that
Yeah.
so that when I'm in society, now I feel like I know the lingo, how to fit in and what to do, only later to find out that the words and the patterns that you've used in your life for so long have only been a survival mechanism that you don't need because it's not about just surviving, it's about living and thriving. And that can be scary as fuck.
Yeah, I was just gonna use that word, like scary as book, to actually be seen with your heart open, especially to the people like your family or your closest relationships, or never like dating. Oh my God, that's been a huge lesson and trigger for me as well, like that category. But you know, the vulnerability piece, the scary piece, and I just want to like take a moment and bring it back to what we were first talking about is taking the time to connect within and healing the parts of ourselves that feel insecure. We keep attracting these conversations, these triggers that you mentioned, in order to ping us that, oh, that's still there. How can, and instead of just like shaming or blaming that it's still there, I've done all this work on myself. How can we continue to come back in, and then we heal these wounds, these things that we learned when we were babies and we didn't even know, and trust that I'm safe so that I can be seen. How can I ask myself that a lot, like how can I be safer in here so that it's not so scary to be out there.
So I have a couple questions for you. One, the question that comes to my mind is, do you need to fully be healed to have worth?
I'm working on that. I'll get back to you tomorrow when I figure it out. um, so that I love that you just asked me that. This is actually something that I'm deeply working on, like right now.
Hmm.
You're probably picking up on that. Um, no, absolutely not. And the beautiful thing is when I can remember that when I am in that place of vulnerability and a little bit of brokenness and I don't have all the answers, that is healing my
Hmm.
idea of worth. So if I wait, you know, it's so easy to say like, oh, I'll do 40 more meditations and then I'll be ready next month. But the universe is offering you that mirror that you're talking about right now, because the universe is never going to give us something that we are not ready for. And
Hmm.
I have to remember that constantly. This is here for a reason. What's it showing me? So to answer the question of worth is like, it's just always unfolding. I'm never, maybe I will get to the point where I'm like completely embodying worth in all moments. But honestly, I kind of hope I don't, because then I'm not learning anymore. And maybe I don't, that's a bold statement, but it is something I'm considering.
Yeah.
My worth is in the lessons that I share with others, because they can then see their worth as well. If they're not completely healed, but I still love you, I'm still here, and I'm still listening, and I'm still present, that helps to heal myself and you at the same time. It's that reciprocity, that all is one idea in action.
Hmm. Sharing is also a very key thing about it. It's because the more that we share, the fact that we have parts of ourselves that we have insecurity about is super important. I know I'll speak for myself. When I was, when I lived in Asia and I was a trainer and consultant for multinational Fortune 500 companies, like that statement in itself was just like, well, what do you do? And
Yeah.
this is what I do. And then what happened was in my mind, it's just like, well, because I am this person, I must know it all. So if somebody asks me a question, then I must respond with, let me tell you something that I probably don't know, but it's going to make me think that I seem good, but you're actually going to be like, what the fuck is he talking about? But at the end of the day, I'll be like, I'm great. And then at night, I'll be like, what's wrong with me? because sometimes the best answer is, I don't know.
Yeah.
But tell me a little more about why you're asking that question. And then you entertain a conversation. Not knowing is beautiful because it allows somebody else to actually share their work with you. But
Yeah.
if you constantly seem like you're like, but I know everything, then the people around you start to feel like they don't feel enough.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Which is a reflection of you not feeling enough. So yeah, it's beautiful. And you can be in those moments and you're catching the moment right prior, or maybe it's right after. It's okay either way. Of, oh, I'm about to like jump forward with an answer, catching
Mhm.
it and saying, huh, how can I listen more deeply and ask a question? Beautiful shift.
I feel like today and in modern times, it's not about sharing how good I am or how far I've come. It's about sharing what got me to come this far. What about me do I am I still working on? Because it's not in the solution, but it's in sharing the problem that we discover that there is no 100% solution for the individuals that we are. But what we are is stories. And I'm going to share my story. And by doing that, it gives you permission to share your story and be like, oh my God, all those nights where I was like talking to myself and I thought there's something wrong with me, that I'm not enough, that nobody likes me, I'm never going to be loved, that I'm broken. Oh, you got that too. I'm like, oh, so we got something to talk about. This is beautiful. So tell me how you feel broken. Oh, I feel broken like this. Be like, wait, wait, wait. Let me tell you about my brokenness. And then all of a sudden it's just like, damn, maybe broken is the new fix.
Seriously. I just like 2 days ago, this quote came across my sphere and I've used it a couple times. It seems relevant now. It's like, how can I have more compassion today? Because every single person that I run into is dealing with some version of the same wound all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who cut me off in line at the I mean, everyone. I had this moment yesterday. This is an awakening moment that I'm just remembering. Yesterday, I'm sitting in my car right before I go into work, and I'm working in Aspen as a sommelier a few nights a week. And I'm about to go into work, and I'm seeing people in Aspen just like walking through the street. And this is a very unique place, this place that I live, in the
Mm-hmm.
sense of there's a lot of affluence here, and there's a lot of shopping, and there's a lot of outfits, and it does reflect sometimes a certain level of desiring to purchase and have a lot of material things. And I had this practice, and it was just like 5 minutes. I don't even know why I dropped in, of seeing these people underneath and just I didn't say anything, but just energetically observing, huh, this like 65-year-old man was walking by with 3 shopping bags and on his phone, and I could feel that he was just getting to the next thing, getting to the next thing, getting to the next thing. And I just offered, even just energetically, you're doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
A moment of compassion. So just noticing that we're all the same. Like we're all walking around wounded, offering some more love for that.
Yeah, a lot of us we're just not born with an instruction manual of how to
Yeah,
live this life.
totally.
And we believe that there's a structure, that a construct that was given to us while growing up, that for some reason in a lot of our minds we thought was the correct one, that as an adult now we realize that that's not what we are, that's not who we are, that's not what we'll become. It's
Yeah.
shifting from, if there is an idea in your mind that breaks you down every day, then it's time for you to question what it wants you to be and start accepting what you currently are.
Love that. That's what it's there for. What is this there for? Not how can I get rid of it?
Mhm.
And I love that. We get in these patterns, we're like, and then the pattern is there, and then we should and shouldn't the pattern right? There's something wrong with me because this is still here. And that's part of the story as well, which keeps it going. I was sharing with one of my best friends, the end, she was having a moment of anxiety, and she reached out to me of like, you know, she's seen me conquer. I mean, I was shaking. I was really out of my body, unable to do life for a while.
Mm.
And she's seen that transformation, I'll say, of making friends. And I realized that I have literally spent time saying thank you to my anxiety. And I've made friends with her. She hasn't. She has like a name. I mean, this is just a tool that I've used, but how it shifts when we shed light on it instead of shame it. And exactly what you just said around, you know, these patterns that keep going, how can we see them as a gift? Make friends with it. I thank it for showing up as a teacher. Like, we have enough teachers within ourselves. We don't even need, it's beautiful to have external teachers to reflect back to us, but to give power to a teacher is incorrect. It's within us. How can I see my pain as my teacher, as my gift? And spend time. It takes time, man. Like, from a practical thing, like, I don't have 20 minutes to sit down and make friends with my pain. Are you kidding me? You know, I get that all the time. Like, what are you talking about? I'm going to do that. It's like, well, you said something on a video, and I'm going to misquote it a little bit, so please bear with me. It was really this concept that dropped in for me so hardcore. And it was like, you will be different. It was something along the lines of, I will be a different person at the point where I'm trying to get to this goal. I will be different, so my goal will be different. And it's beautiful. So spend the time, because your life will change, absolutely, but you'll want it to. You'll be okay with it. And again, the universe doesn't give us things that we're not ready for. Like, spend a little time, and yes, your life will change and you'll be fine. It's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And me and my friends used to have a conversation that life is tailor-made for you.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's it. It's you're not going through things because you can't handle it. You're going
Yeah,
through all this because you can handle
you
it.
can handle it.
And because you can handle it, you're going to do things for other people in this world that are in different situations, because you're strong, because you have the strength, you have the courage, you have the vulnerability, you have whatever it is that you want or you're looking for that you don't think you have it. But the fact that you're questioning it is exactly the reason why you do have it. It is inside of you. And the idea of, like, there's the idea in psychology, they say you first have to name it before you can tame it.
Yeah. Well, and letting go of the resistance piece of what you just shared is, okay, it's all here for me. Resistance is futile. Dorky reference, but
But it's
you
true
know,
though.
like, it's true. How can I surrender into my pain more?
How do I just have a conversation with it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the more you try and ignore it, the stronger it comes back. The more you try to tell it you don't want it, the more it's just like, okay. But
Here's
when you're
something
just,
else to show you. Here you go. Like, it's always a gift. It's always for you. I love that. So true.
it's just, the idea is just this, like, you're picking up something, talk to it, learn from it, understand it, accept it. There's nothing wrong with you about it.
Yeah. It's not
Mm.
wrong with you. Yeah. Absolutely. It means nothing
And
about your worth.
the idea you're talking about a teacher, the whole idea of the teacher is to empower you, not to empower the teacher. So
Yes. Yes.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's good. You can have these kind of conversations with people like, this is great. But it's just like, it takes work. It takes a lot of work.
No, it does. And that's the thing, that 20 minutes a day, because I have to get on my email. Okay. If anyone is going to take like one thing out of this, or however many things, it's like,
Hmm.
the habit of getting on your phone first thing in the morning is such a huge shift for me, and has made a huge impact. Like, just have the shift of discipline for a week to not do that, and tune into, what were my dreams? How do I feel? Sit and meditate, like, before the phone, external thing, first thing in the morning. Like, beautiful way to rewire, to start the actual, like, then you do prove to yourself that I do have 20 minutes. I'm just choosing to take it. I can do it. And some things will fall away that you were supposed to get done. It's totally okay. This is the priority.
See, there's the idea of spirituality when it comes to a lot of this. Idea of having your focus in the morning. But, I talk about it in business. When I wake up in the morning, yeah, I do my meditation, I do my rituals. I have that. That's because it's me time. But how do I want to show up today? What do I need to do today? What is one obstacle that might get in my way? How can I deal with it? Set out my day. What is my goal? And then at the end of the day, reflect on it. Because when you go into things with intentions and understanding, then you see what a distraction is versus what's wrong with me. And when you visualize and you see all this stuff prior to it, then you're literally you're priming your body and you're getting ready for this. It's just like, what do you want to do today? I want to have a great day. That is not a good measure stick.
Yeah.
What does good mean to you? Talk about the different aspects. What in your day would show up to make it a good day? And what is it that you need to create today to make it amazing?
Yeah.
Well, I need to do X, Y, and Z. Fantastic. And then T comes along and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. T, there's no time for you. I got X, Y, and Z today. It's like, are you sure? Be like, listen, T, I'll see you on Thursday. Yeah. But right now is Monday. X, Y, and Z is working with me here. And it's like, sure. Oh, because then you learn to make space for yourself. You honor yourself. And there's just so much more into it, because a lot of times we live for other people, but we forget to live for ourselves.
True. Yeah. And the what do I want to get done is such an important question. I've found that I'm actually incredibly productive. I mean, we hear that all the time. You'll be more productive when you slow down. And you're like, yeah, right. Prove it. I'm like, no, like, really, I've proved it for myself. I really am. Like, and it feels more in flow. So for me, I've shifted away from what do I need to do today? It's still absolutely there, but it's not my driving force. It's how do I want to feel today? What do I have to offer today? How do I want to feel? Like, how do I want to feel? And I want to feel, some days I want to feel excited. Some days I want to feel in ease. Sometimes I want to feel passionate. Sometimes I want to feel tired and totally restful, like nothing at all, And if the feeling, like I understand the boundary of the getting the stuff done. However, if the feeling arises and it's really calling you, like physically you can feel that you're like needing to process something, give it some space. Like give it, that's that friendship building. But you can also, in the friendship building, you need boundaries, right? It's like, I'm going to give you 20 minutes. I see you, I hear you, I want to listen to you. And after that, we're going to go, okay? Like that conversation as you go along.
It's important. And the reason that forget about people, the reason I do it is because before I actually would write down and do all these things, the problem with my day was it was so scattered around that I wouldn't get anything done. But I'm like, but why would I want to invest like an hour in my morning? That gives me an hour less in the day. But doing that hour, for me, it's about an hour and a half in the morning. I actually save time during my day where like I finish everything off and I'm like, I look at my watch, I'm like, I still have time? Yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. So let's sit down with some stuff. Let's learn some things. And it's just like, your brain will focus on the things you want it to focus on. But if you don't have a focus, then it will focus on everything.
Yes.
And when it focuses on everything,
you
start to feel like you're nothing. You start to feel like you're
Yeah, absolutely. And that's that coming within, right? Where if you're in that moment, like a very practical little thing is like, breath, bring it in, get out of the chitter chatter, bring it in. Where's my intuition guiding me right now? Use the mind, of course, but when it's just like spinning like that, you gotta drop into that presence.
Yeah, the one thing I always say this, it's the one thing that will never lie to you in life is your breath.
Absolutely. And it's the most powerful tool we have.
Yeah. It's always nice to take a breath. I keep on looking. I'm like,
I'm just like,
yeah.
like everybody just take a breath. Like, there it
I keep
is.
I keep on looking at my clock. I'm like a couple minutes left because this only gives you about an hour span. I'm like, but there's so much more I want to talk about. So
This is beautiful. I think this is a beautiful container for today. I feel like so seen and heard, and hopefully what we've uncovered is helpful for others as a reminder.
so before we go,
Yes.
there's my question that I love to ask, and
Okay.
then there'll be one more thing after that. So my question for you is, if you could speak to your younger self, what would you say to them?
Breathe. It's all going to be okay. This is on purpose. This is on purpose. You're not off track, and you don't need to be anywhere that you're not right now. Surrender, like breathe.
Hmm. It's beautiful.
Ambitious is a motherfucker sometimes. You know what I mean? Why was I
Oh,
born
oh,
ambitious? Ugh.
yeah, no, it's just
Just
like,
breathe.
yeah, a lot of the words that we use that we're just like, we're like, but I'm not this. It's just like, yeah, you're not that. You're you. So like, chill the fuck down and you'll get there. Take a breath. It's fine. Like, and I'll make sure that when I post this podcast, I'll put explicit for language.
Sorry.
It's all right, children. You have to be over
Apologies.
18 to listen to this one, but it's a good one. And I personally believe nowadays that there's nothing negative about these kind of words. I believe that if this is kind of words that you want to use to express instead of repress, then that's fine. And it's a beautiful thing. So before we go, I want to acknowledge you for who you are.
Oh, thank you.
You can see that you're a person that's doing a lot of work, the working on yourself. And through that all, you're taking what you've learned and you're creating space to help other people, to guide other people, and to help other people see that they're seen. I think that the best kind of healer in the world are those that are still acknowledging that they're healing themselves. The one healers that I never wanted to work with or be with are the ones that are like, no, I'm good. Now I'm going to fix you. I'd be like, oh, I don't think so. So just acknowledge you for you and your journey and your energy and what you're doing and constantly striving and trying to create great things, not just for yourself, but for other people in this world.
Thank you, Erin. I hear you and I receive that. I appreciate it.
So before we go, where can people find you? Links or
Thanks for things. My website is themindfulvine.com, and you'll see events to some of these wine experiences, retreat coming up, also opportunity to work with an intuitive healing session that can work through things on a physical plane, energetic, emotional. You just really want some clarity of in your intention and some support. That's there as well. And then I'm Marisa Hallsted. I'm on my Instagram and Facebook, the same thing. So if you find Mindful Vine in San Francisco, that's not me. It's the Mindful Vine. and and yeah, I just want to reflect back to you. Like, you're such an inspiration. The moment I connected with you, which hasn't even been that long, I was like, this man gets to be in my life. I'm so excited and grateful for that.
thank you. I received that. That means a lot. I really appreciate your words.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for your time, for your energy, and we shall do this again in the future.
Awesome. Have a great day.
You too. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye bye.